What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Roll On Gaming. That's right, we are back after just a week. We did not dilly-dally on getting another episode out to you all because it's been a really fun and exciting week in Star Wars Unlimited. But before we get into any of that, I have to introduce my co-host, my brother, Corwin. Join me, as always. Corwin, heck of a week for Star Wars Unlimited. Really excited to talk about some stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the momentum keeps building. We're less than a month now from pre-releases, so yeah, it's all engines go.
Yeah, and I've already signed myself up for 2 pre-releases. I'm waiting on a third. I really hope that I can get that one in, and if not, then I might just have to drive a little bit farther to try to find one. But looking forward to getting some of those packs and those pre-releases and building some decks and actually playing with real cards in hand. But we're going to talk a little bit about pre-releases. We're going to talk about store showdowns, but we have to start by talking about the reveal that everybody expected, but nobody actually knew what to expect at the same time. We did finally get the leader we all anticipated, and that was Emperor Palpatine. So, this Emperor Palpatine is a monster. It is the final leader of Star Wars Unlimited's first set, Spark of Rebellion. It is the rare command villainy leader, and Emperor Palpatine comes out at a whopping 8 resources. But let's talk about the ability first. On the leader side of Emperor Palpatine, his leader ability is an action where you pay a resource, exhaust Palpatine, and defeat a friendly unit. When you do that, all of that, you deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. Now, I don't want to toot my own horn here because I did say in our last episode that Palpatine would have something to do with defeating units, but this is a little bit more conservative than what I had suggested. If you remember, I said, okay, defeat one of your units, defeat an opponent's unit, pay the cost difference between them. That obviously didn't happen. You're doing a damage here, and you're drawing a card. So, Corwin, what do you like? What do you dislike about this ability from Emperor Palpatine?
I mean, it's costly. You got to pay a resource and defeat one of your own units just to deal a damage and draw. So, surface level, that's not great value.
Hmm.
But obviously, you're not playing him for the value, knowing that he's your leader. You're putting in cards that can sort of combo off of this ability and help you, advance your tactics. So I think for me, Palpatine, we'll talk about the rest of his card, but this is a pretty steep cost for him. Like outside of Super Laser Technician, it's not going to feel great to kind of defeat your own units for what seems like limited value, but the damage that you're dealing is going to matter. And so that's really where the ability will shine.
Yeah, and so let's talk about the reason why the ability matters. Because when you deploy Emperor Palpatine on 8 resources, you're getting a 410 Force, Imperial, Sith, Official, 4 traits. With 10 HP, it's not bad. I mean, you're going to have 10 HP for 8 resources. Would I like it to be a 510? Yeah, but can't be picky here. Because when deployed, you can take control of a damaged non-leader unit. Now, important to note, this does not ever say give it back. It also it makes sure to specify that it's not a leader, but you can just take something, which is awesome. So Palpatine's got that going for him, which obviously synergizes well with his ability. And then on attack, you can continue to use the same ability without paying a resource. You may defeat another friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. Also important to note, it does not have to be a enemy unit that you damage with Emperor Palpatine. You can do it with friendly units. So, like you said, things like Super Laser Technician. There's also synergy with Admiral Mahdi, and pretty much any card that ever comes out that has a when defeated effect that works in your benefit, Palpatine is going to be useful for. So when you put all those things together and you look at the big picture of Emperor Palpatine, this is a leader that could be pretty spicy, Corwin. What do you think?
Spicy, fine. I'm not 100% sold on him actually being good yet.
Okay.
It feels like the options at this point are fairly limited to kind of get him where he needs to be. The deploying at 8 is tough, man. It's a tough ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, obviously with green and specifically green villain, that's probably the best color he could be in because there are ways that he can kind of get to that 8 quicker. But I think he's going to need more than what he currently has because I mean the eight, like once you get to 8 and flip him, like
Mm-hmm.
that ability is definitely worth every single resource you've invested,
Mm-hmm.
being able to take control. Because by then, right, at 8 resources, you're in. even if you've gotten like a couple resupplies down or whatever, you're in turn 4, 5, 6. So
Mhm.
your opponent's going to have something pretty nice on the board, most likely that you can take. So it's definitely a game changing effect when he does his epic action. But getting to that point is my issue. And so I just don't know like how he's going to be able to make it and survive against some of these faster aggro decks. So that's my concern with him. And I think he's got tools in Green Command, villain specifically that obviously will help, but I'm not sold. I'm not 100% sold on him being super strong yet.
Well, and here's the thing about it, and there's been a lot made since Star Wars Unlimited. We first figured out how to play the game, right? Which was a little bit after it was announced and what have you. There's been a lot made about card draw and how effective it is in a game where you technically draw 2 cards at the start of every round. Now, obviously, in the early game, you're putting one of those down as resources anyway, so whether or not you're drawing 2 or drawing 1 or whatever. But it's sort of been a discussion about how valuable card draw is. And I think with Emperor Palpatine, with the cards you mentioned and with the need, I mean, 8 resources a lot. So with the need to ramp with Emperor Palpatine to get him out sooner, this may be one of the most valuable reasons to build in card draw that we've seen so far. Because if you're regularly drawing cards, you're more consistently finding those ramp cards that you need and getting to 8 resources faster and getting Palpatine on the board faster at a time where you can still win the game and you're not so far behind that putting him out and taking a unit just doesn't matter. And so if you're able to use Palpatine in a way that is drawing yourself cards, and then maybe you're even comboing with other effects that draw you cards or get you some additional uses out of your units. I think that there's a world in which you can get Palpatine out much earlier than turn 7, right? Which is when I think he would come out normally. And and that also, like you said, is a byproduct of the color he's in, right? Super Laser Technician and Resupply. If you play Palpatine in mono green, you've also got command at your disposal. And then there's still, 20 cards left to be revealed. So whether or not
Yep.
he comes out early is going to be very draw dependent, and facilitating that draw I think is really going to help him. But yeah, like you said, when he
Yeah,
comes out, he's changing the game one way or another.
he's changing the game, and it's a point well taken. Obviously, we like card draw to not only get to those options you mentioned, but to synergize with his ability since he's drawing cards for you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
My issue there is just that if you really want to, it seems like if you're going to maximize card draw, you're going into red, and I don't think red is the move for him. Like Palpatine doesn't strike me as an aggressive leader.
Mm-hmm.
He strikes me more as someone who's trying to control board state until he can get himself deployed. And so that to me lends itself more to a mono green or a blue build. Um, and and so yeah, that it just feels like maybe there's a little bit of a mismatch there. I don't know. It obviously this is brand new. No testing has really gone in yet, but um, I just feel like he's gonna have his games where he's just gonna be blowing people out. Like there's no question about it. But a lot of things have to go right for that to happen, and so the consistency with which he can do it is really my question.
I'm really intrigued by the mono build for Palpatine, but I do think there's a world in which he can still control the board when he's paired with aggression. Because if you think about it, right, aggression does have some direct damage dealers that are mixed in that can help you mess with the board state, right? You've got Imperial Interceptor. You're adding more force units, I think, in villain red than you have in any other color, which gives you a cheaper force choke. And then you've got abilities like if you include Seven Sister along with the force units, you're dealing additional damage when you hit base to be able to proc Palpatine if and when he comes out. So I don't
Mm,
know. I don't know. And then again, of course, you have unit Palpatine, which is more damage, and that's another one
mm.
that comes out at 8 resources. So I don't necessarily know if that's the move, but I do think there's a world in which Palpatine with red still is able to further that plan to control the board. I don't know that I'm going to try Palpatine with red right away. again, the mono green build intrigues me, and then with blue you have a little bit more access to like some of the better removal events that can give you an upper hand there. So here's a follow up. We now have all the rare leaders as well as all the common leaders, but where does Palpatine sit in terms of all the rare leaders that we've seen? Is he for the hype and the build up and the fact that he was the last revealed? Is this the best rare leader we have right now?
Yeah, so for our listeners' benefit, let's recap. So rare leaders are Palpatine and who else?
So in villainy, and then again, this is off the dome, so I might miss something. Villainy, you have Palpatine, Iden, Thrawn, and Grand Inquisitor. So right there,
Okay.
that's your four villainy. And then heroism is Han, Hera, Cassian, and the yellow one is Han. Duh. So what am I missing? What color am I missing? Oh, blue. Chirrut.
Share it. Yeah, I mean, when you think about that list of 8, Palpatine really stands out. I because you're not like immediately jumping to a lot of those other leaders, at least
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, based on kind of some of the initial discussions about them. So amongst that group, I like Palpatine a lot. I think he's got to be like maybe top 2 or 3 of the 8, I would say. Um, Only other ones that come to mind. I mean, I still like Han for his ability to mess with the resource curve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and Inquisitor started to get some tools, but I'm not sure I'd put him up there yet. Yeah, I think I like Palpatine probably as 1 or 2 on that list.
Yeah, and I think right now, for me at least, Palpatine is rivaled by the blue rare leaders. I think Iden is going to have a lot of value with the amount that she can heal. And then coming in shielded, obviously, there's the danger with something like a takedown. But Iden I think is going to have some spice because we've already seen some success with Director Krennic, and it's a similar strategy when playing both of those. I mean, there are obviously some different cards that are involved, and I think Krennic's on a little bit of a better foot right now, but Iden's got some skill, and I really like what I've been seeing with people building with Chirrut. I think Chirrut's going to be pretty underrated, at least in the beginning, and I think that there's a world in which having Chirrut deploying early as a force unit in Hero Blue, and having the ability to stick around to be able to pull off some tricks with the damage that's on him, and using the force suite to your advantage. I really think that Chirrut's going to have some playability, but in and around those things, I think Palpatine is right up there at the top of the rare leaderboard. There's obviously going to be some common leaders that give him a run for his money, and he probably doesn't match up very well into. I don't know how good Palpatine's going to be against aggro, but I definitely am going to test extensively with Emperor Palpatine, and art wise, like I need this in hyperspace. I need it in hyperspace foil. I
Yep.
can't even imagine what the showcase of this looks like. Like I just need all the versions of this Emperor Palpatine because it looks phenomenal.
Yep. No argument, no argument here. Definitely going to be one you will not be sad to get in an alternate treatment.
Yeah, and again, the relevant traits are all there for Palpatine. Obviously, we haven't seen a ton of Sith yet, but Force is relevant, Imperial is relevant, Official is relevant, especially with the Royal Guards. And I mean, talk about stocks going up for the Emperor's Royal Guard. I mean, just having
Oh yeah.
the ability to play that, and immediately give it +1 health, no matter when you're playing it. Yeah, that I mean, there's a reason that card's a rare, and that one's going to be a very sought after rare. So I'm pretty excited for that. So let's talk about some other cards that we've seen already this week. Starting with one that could be some sick Palpatine tech as we're defeating our own units here. This is the Emperor's Legion. This is a 2-cost command villainy event that is an Imperial and supply trait. It is a rare, and it says return each unit in your discard pile that was defeated this phase to your hand. So if you are using your units to control the board, using your units to draw cards with Palpatine's ability, you can bring them back to your hand for 2 costs. That could be 1, that could be 2, depending on how many small units you have out there. That could be 3. How much value do you need to get out of this, Corwin, for it to be worth it? Is it just 1? paying 2 to bring one back, is that useful, or do you
No,
thinking at least multiple here?
yeah, it's got to be. I think at least 2 cards need to come back for this to hold value, and so yeah, it's kind of a miss for me outside of a very specific deck like a Palpatine that's going to be easily fostering cards into the discard pile anyway. I'm probably not touching this card outside of a Palpatine deck.
Wow, that's a hot take. Well, outside of a Palpatine deck. Okay, I understand. You threw me there for not touching the card. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Um, I don't know. I think there's a world in which if you're looking to go wide, that this could be useful. I don't know how much of that is out there right now in villainy. I mean, obviously, this would be an amazing card in something like a Sabine, or a Leia that's trying to go pretty wide. But you're also generally not losing too many units in those because you're not trading them into your opponent. You're attacking base with them. So yeah, obviously it has the most value in a Palpatine deck. I think it's designed that way. I mean, it's literally called the Emperor's Legion. I think in Palpatine this is gonna. I don't necessarily know that I put 3 of this in because I don't know how much use you're getting out of it. It's probably a 2 of for me. You're always going to be looking for that 1/2 of that fills your deck out to 50. 16 times 3, and then the random 2 just floating there. So maybe this is it. But I think, I mean, again, artwork phenomenal, stellar, hands
Oh
down.
yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting to see how often this gets used when you're playing Palpatine. Like how many times you're going to get those 2 units back, those 3 units back, whatever, because it does slow you down a bit, right? Like bringing. I'll say this. I'll say this. If it is 1 unit that you're bringing back, if you're bringing back Darth Vader, life's great. I'd pay 2 to bring back Darth Vader.
Yeah, let's hang on that point for a second because I do think that Vader is one card that actually could like help Palpatine be quite good.
Yeah.
There's to me there's a lot of chemistry between those two cards and what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think, and again, it just speaks to the strength of where villain command is right now. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's so many options and ways to go, but Vader I think is a staple in any green villain deck right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, I mean this card in terms of like recycling from the discard or bringing units from the deck, I think it kind of fits the mold.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's a world in which you're making a command villainy deck that you're not putting Vader in. I mean,
No way,
unless you
no
don't
way.
don't own 3 copies of Vader because he's a legendary and it's going to be
Yes,
tough to grab. But that one I will be pillaging the singles market for if I don't get him in my mini boxes. So anyway, but Emperor's Legion, pretty sick in a Palpatine deck. We'll see how much use it actually gets. Let's move on to the what I believe is the final command double aspect card. And this was one that I don't think any of us were expecting. This is General Krell. It's a 5-cost double command ground unit. You're getting a 5/4 Force Jedi Republic unit. And this is also a rare and says each other friendly unit gains. When defeated, you may draw a card. So here's a when defeated effect. It's in mono green. Are you slotting this into Palpatine?
probably. I mean, you're getting card draw at the same time that Palpatine's helping you. So it's like you use Palpatine's ability, you draw 2 instead of 1. I mean, that seems pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with Krell for me is that he just like doesn't do anything else. Like he's just a 5/4 body for 5, which doesn't feel great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the issue. I think it's nice to have, the additional kicker on Palp's ability, but um, I'm probably not using him anywhere else.
I think it's a tough include for me because is of exactly what you said. Paying 5 to get something with 4 health is just not a great feeling. It's something that can be, you know, defeated pretty easily. Now, again, if you're running it in Palpatine, and you have access to the Emperor's Royal Guard Sentinel ability, if there's an official on the board, maybe that's a world in which you're protecting Krell for a round, so that you can get a couple cards off of his ability before he disintegrates. But I mean, just paying 5 for something that just automatically dies to open fire, which is not even a card that I think sees a lot of play right now. You
Maybe
know,
Index, yeah.
right? You know, like this is takedown immediately removed, force choke gone. It's tough for me, and I think that Krell's gonna get better. You know, especially with having the Jedi and Republic traits that are gonna probably, you know, only expand in their bandwidth. Um, but aside from Palpatine, and I guess Vader, like there's not a ton of force synergy within green. So you're really just paying for the body and you're paying for the ability. And I don't know if it makes the final 50. Now, if you really need to get to those ramp cards, maybe Krell's the way to do it. But it's gonna be a tough ask to keep him around long enough to get value out of that ability, I think. But I'm happy to be wrong. Look, at the end of the day, like the command, the double command cards may synergize really well with each other. Obviously, command is an awesome card in that sort of archetype. Attack pattern delta sort of remains to be seen. That, you know, I don't think that one's that good, but I you know, I haven't seen it used to super well effect yet. And then Krell. So maybe if there's a way to combo all three of those together, you can have some success. But I just think there are probably better cards and more important cards to fit in your 50 than General Krell at this point. So let's go ahead and keep going past General Krell to another green card. This one I think is really good. This is a heroism card, command heroism, one cost event. It's called Rebel Assault. It is a rebel and tactic trait, and it says attack with a rebel unit. It gets +1/+0 for this attack. Then attack with another rebel unit. That gets +1/+0 for this attack. So you want to go fast. You've got a Leia deck. You've got a Sabine deck. You're trying to hit base. So nice you can do it twice. Like, I really like Rebel Assault. I think this card is going to see a really decent amount of play in pretty much any heroism aggro deck. It might see play in any deck that has heroism in command. Like, this card's just really good. And, you know, if you're using it in conjunction with Leia, you also get 3 attacks, which is crazy. I should clarify unit Leia, not leader Leia. You can't use leader Leia's action and then play this at the same time in conjunction. But if you're attacking with unit Leia, you're getting 3 attacks out of this, and 2 of them are buffed by +1. So that's nuts. I really like this card, Corwin. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like begging to be put into Leia, because yeah, to your point, when Leia's deployed, she can trigger the extra 3rd attack. But yeah, I think, you know, the +1/+0 is very modest, but you know, having Leia's ability on a stick for non-Leia decks is also kind of a cool concept. So I think it's going to have applications elsewhere, but yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer in Leia, I think.
Here's the thing that I've been thinking of recently, and I'm not a deep thinker. I'm also not a heroism player, right? I'm a villainy guy through and through, but I really do think there's some unexplored potential with Sabine in command. Because if you're giving Sabine access to Battlefield Marine, in addition to all the great stuff that Sabine can play for cheap, you know, and I've seen Jack of the Golden Ice podcast talk about this, and I've seen maybe a couple other people dabble in the idea of, you know, of Sabine in green, but like having her with Energy Conversion Lab, with this, with Strike True potentially, and then giving her an extra Sentinel with 4 attack in the Echo based Defender, that might be scary. Like, there might be something there, and I think if I were to build a Sabine deck right now, I think, you know, despite advocating for the benefits of Cunning Sabine, which is the most popular Sabine, in our latest article on Deploy Your Leader Gaming, go check that out. Shout out to Brian from Deploy Your Leader, who has pre-orders up now as well, by the way. So shameless plug there. We really have enjoyed partnering with Deploy Your Leader Gaming. But despite advocating for the benefits of Sabine Cunning there, I think I might dabble a little bit in Sabine with command, because I think the card pool there is just so strong. Like, I think the 2 strongest heroism colors right now are red and green. So why not put them together? That's sort of where I land.
Yeah, I think the same thing applies for Leia and why she has apparently seen so much success with aggression
Right.
because of, the card pool for those two aspects is really strong right now.
Right.
So I think, yeah, you just, the inverse of that is Sabine with green, and so I think all of that makes sense.
I think to that point, if you're building a green red deck, there's a world in which building a Leia red deck is probably better than a Sabine green deck. But it also depends on what you want to do, right? Again, if
Mhm.
Sabine comes out earlier, you're getting advantage of that earlier. So I don't know. I think I'm just gonna stick to villainy because that's what I do best. So let's continue here with a blue card. Here we've got a vigilance ground unit. This is 2 costs and it's single aspect vigilance. Is Guardian of the Whills. It's a 2/2 force fringe unit. And the first upgrade you play on this unit each round costs 1 less. Corwin, when you see this unit, you think of what?
The binder.
No. The answer was supposed to be Padawan from Star Wars Destiny.
Oh yeah, I mean, sure. That's a very good comparison
Why
there.
why is this going in the binder? Tell me.
I mean, aside from being a cheap force unit, I just I don't think upgrades to me anyway right now are I mean, there's some good ones obviously in blue, arrow specifically, but not taking up enough of my deck to kind of make this ability trigger reliably. So I think if I'm probably treating that text box as blank and just getting a 2/2 force unit for 2, which doesn't feel great.
So let me ask you this question. Okay, let's say for the sake of argument, you're running a mono blue Chirrut deck. Let's just throw out a mono blue. It could be a mono blue Luke deck. It could be a mono blue Chewie deck. Doesn't matter. Let's say on your round 1 play, you have Guardian of the Whills in your hand and you play it for 2 resources, and then you have this first upgrade you play on this unit each round costs 1 less. So you mean to tell me that if you could play the Guardian of the Whills and then put a free Resilient or a free Protector to either make your unit a 3/3 Sentinel or a 2/5 for 2 resources, you wouldn't be happy with that?
I would if I'm playing mono,
Okay.
but now I have to play mono to make those cards work,
Well,
and it's
Resilient
just
you
like
don't have
too
to
much.
play mono, but you would for Protector essentially.
Yeah, yeah, and I also have to draw both cards in my opening hand. Um, it's nice when it goes off, but like I would prefer to have something more reliable.
Okay. All right. I think the ability to take a 2/2 and make it a lot scarier is intriguing. It also is something that gets you an instant force unit because again there are a decent amount of cards out there that uh, that have to deal with having the force trait on the board,
Yeah,
right?
no argument there. I love the fact that it's a force unit for 2. That's probably where its value shines the most.
Mhm.
Um, but I just yeah, outside of some very niche plays, it doesn't make the cut for me.
Great. Well, all right. So when we start some IRL gameplay when the set comes out, remind me to put Guardian of the Whills in my deck, and we'll see what happens.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see.
That's the great part about these discussions is that once the set comes out, finally, and we have our setup where we want it, which still working on. So thanks everybody for your patience. But I'll finally get to put my money where my mouth is and then go broke. So it's going to be great. But Guardian of the Whills, at the very least, intriguing. Let's talk about I had no choice, as in I had no choice but to put Guardian of the Whills into my deck. I had no choice
Okay.
is a 7 cost cunning villainy trick event. So 6 if you play it with Jabba the Hutt on the board. But this is another rare, and it's got a wall of text on it. Choose up to 2 non-leader units. An opponent chooses one of those units. Return that unit to its owner's hand and put the other on the bottom of its owner's deck. So, 7 cost. You're essentially paying that for, I mean, what? A waylay combined with removal, right? Never seeing the second unit again, basically, unless your opponent gets all the way to the bottom of their deck. But I don't know. Like, it feels a little expensive to me. What do you think?
I mean, that's where I'm at on it. The 7 cost is prohibitive, I think, for the card.
Yeah.
Even if it is like you said, like a combined, like takedown 4, waylay 3, there you go.
Yep.
But I just want so many more things, I think, at 7 than this card.
I'd love a Darth Vader at 7, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Or any of the other 7 cost unique units we've seen, I think.
I think
better than this.
I think if you're really all in on Jabba the Hutt helping your cause, right? You know, you've got all the waylays and all the shoot firsts and all the asteroid sanctuaries. You know, if you're really all in on getting Jabba out there and using him to pull events, playing this for 6 feels a lot better than playing it for 7.
Yes,
but
it does.
I also don't know how much Jabba the Hutt's seeing played currently. Like, I don't know. You know, I don't know if you're not just like if you've got a cunning deck. I don't know if you're not just putting in Gamorrean guards at that price point. You know, so I don't know. This one's a tough one for me. The art's great. The idea of, you know, removing 2 units from the board is appealing. But I don't know that it fits. I don't know that there's any event I really want to pay 7 for, unless it's winning me the game in some form or fashion. But maybe removing 2 units, even if one just goes back to your opponent's hand, is winning you the game. So, remains to be seen. But the next one is a cunning card that I really like, and that's Strafing Gunship. Now, speaking of 4 cost cards, this one's definitely going in over Jabba the Hutt. This is a space unit that is single aspect cunning. It is a 3/4 underworld vehicle fighter. And this unit can attack units in the ground arena. While this unit is attacking a ground unit, the defender gets -2, -0. Corwin, this card's awesome. I implore you to find something wrong with this, because I think it's incredible.
Well, tell me why you like it. I mean, I obviously it's nice to have an option for hitting the ground units from space. But like, what else makes it such a standout for you?
So I like it because it's something that you can put in your space arena, that if your opponent's ignoring space, then it's just going to sit there and take pot shots at your opponent's ground units, which is great.
Yeah, that's nice.
If your opponent has a sentinel in the ground arena, this gets around that, potentially, by allowing you to attack either the sentinel or another ground unit. Important to note, if you have a space sentinel and a ground sentinel, the Strafing Gunship has to attack one of those 2 sentinel units. And obviously, if there's a space sentinel, then Strafing Gunship has to attack that if there's no sentinel in the ground arena. But it can get around ground sentinels. It can, you know, attack things that, you know, and survive longer to do it because of the -2, -0. And I think, again, it just provides you with some flexibility. I also think, and this is a spicy take, because this is not a new card, but it's one I wanted to show off with it. I also think this is the first card I really feel comfortable putting Hardpoint Heavy Blaster on, right? Because if all of a sudden you're paying 2 resources and you're making your Strafing Gunship a 5/6 that gives -2 on attack, and also does an additional 2 damage to a unit in the defender's arena, you're doing 7 damage from space to ground. And I think that's really awesome. Like, that, to me, it sounds super fun. The trick is obviously fitting Hardpoint Heavy Blaster into your deck. But if you have Strafing Gunship, I think there's a world in which that's a really cool play.
Yeah. I mean, I've never had any objections to Hardpoint Heavy Blaster. I like the card a lot. So nice to have another application for it. But Strafing Gunship on its own, I'm not crazy about. I just don't. It's fine that it can hit ground units, and yes, if if you're all alone in space, that's going to feel really good. But I just don't. Um, I don't think it's. I don't think it's all that great otherwise. The -2, -0 just means it's going to stick around longer, but it's not going to really. Um, it's not breaking anybody's board state with its 3 attack. So I just think it's fine. Like I don't even know if it's fine. I'm not sold on this card.
Okay.
I'm probably not using it if it's me.
So what I'm getting out of this is I need to make a blue yellow deck that has Guardian of the Whills and Strafing Gunship in it. I won't be able to run Hardpoint Heavy Blaster if I do that, but I will be able to run Entrenched and still
And
get
you
some
can
attacks
pay
off.
4 for hardpoint. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not paying 4 for Hardpoint. Okay, all right. Well, I think that this card will definitely like I would rather run this card, I think, than any other 4 cost in space right now, with the exception of Tie Advanced. Right? I'm running this over
Hmm.
the Sentinel. I'm running this over
Interesting.
I mean, not in Heroism I would say no, because Heroism has Bright Hope, and Bright Hope is better than this.
Bright Hope, I would agree. Um, I mean, I would also probably take Imperial Interceptor
Oh,
over
I
this
forgot
card.
about the Imperial Interceptor. Okay, okay, okay. Imperial Interceptor's better than this. But it's still cool. I maintain that it's still cool.
All right.
I always forget about Imperial Interceptor because it's been around for so long.
It has.
And it's
And by
still
itself, it's like not a great space unit, but I mean,
it's still a
the
staple of
damage out of hand.
yeah. Yeah, you always love to see an Imperial Interceptor, unless again, you're alone in space, which if you're alone in space, playing Strafing Gunship, there might be a world in which it's better than playing Imperial Interceptor, because you have a little bit more survivability and you don't have to worry about the damage out of hand. But I still think Imperial Interceptor is better. I think Strafing Gunship's cool too. We'll move on. We'll talk about the stream that happened this past week, in which they showed us these cool things. If you're listening, the Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker pre-release promos were finally showed off in person. We had seen on previous streams an image of what they would look like. They had really cool alternate art pieces, but we got to see them for the first time in hand on the Fantasy Flight stream, and the foiling on these looks awesome. It really combines really well with the art, and I'll be honest, like, since there are no showcases, yeah, as of now there are no showcases of Luke and Vader. I might run these before I run, the hyperspace versions that we got at Gen Con, because like the art on these look really good. Corwin, I mean, do you agree? Like, I think these are sick.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then the foiling too, right? Because they
Yeah.
have the different foil treatment than the regular foil cards have.
So
So
so they I believe have a similar foiling for these. What the other thing that they showed off was the fact that there are judge promos of these if you're judging in a pre-release, and those, as you can see here, have a special foiling and a judge stamp. So this is more of like the cold foil, I think it's called,
mhm.
which really pops with the Luke Skywalker. Again, if you haven't had a chance to watch the stream and see these sort of shine in the light, I would recommend you do that. Um, but yeah, these judge promos look awesome, and I'm definitely gonna try to judge one of these pre-releases just to get my hands on a set of these, because I kind of want them. I mean, it's the trade-off is tough, right? Because I either judge in the event and get these cool promos, or I get to open 6 more packs, which I kind of want to do on pre-release weekend. So I don't know. I mean, would you make that trade to get a set of these judge promos?
I probably would,
Mm.
because I think they're unique enough to where I would want them in my collection. And I just think the treatments on these are really good looking. Um, Especially this Luke we're seeing on the screen right now. Like the foiling on it makes it pop so much, and then having that judge stamp on it I mean, the stamps in general, which I know we'll get to later, but
Mm.
the stamps in general are just such a nice addition to the cards. I'm really digging the way they did that.
I think so too. And they mentioned that like in store showdowns, you aren't allowed to judge and play. Maybe there's a little bit of lax on the pre-releases. Maybe I can find a world in which I can judge but also play because I'd be pretty sick. But either way, like having a set of these is gonna be pretty swaggy. And I feel like I kind of want one. I mean, again though, 6 packs on pre-release weekend, it's hard to turn down. But I like
Yeah.
I like the whole content of the pre-release boxes also, right? They come with a deck box that's already assembled, which is already a dub. The foils that you get of the Luke Invader, they come separately wrapped in protective packaging, which is good. There was a little bit of curling from the foiling, which that doesn't bother me, right? Put that in a top loader, it'll buff right out. I'm not too worried about that. And then they've got everything else. You've got the packs in there. They've got the tokens. They've got a divider, which looks sick. Like I'm so ready for these pre-releases. I'm so glad that there are a lot in my area, and I hope that all of you who are listening and watching can get out to as many as you possibly can on pre-release weekend because getting cards in hand and being able to not only play with the cards you pull, but also potentially play with these sweet Luke Invader cards on the first weekend that the cards are available to the public is that's going to be a lot of fun. And and maybe you're wanting to judge and getting your hands on these sick judge promos and then going out later and playing with those in another pre-release. Like maybe there's a world in which that happens. So yeah, I'm very very excited and just seeing the extra love they gave to the pre-release promos is really cool.
Yeah, and the only time you'll be able to play Luke and Vader in limited, right?
Yeah, that's a very
So
valid point. Yeah.
reason.
So when you're playing in your pre-release, it was revealed that you will be playing 4 Swiss rounds, and they will be best of one, and they'll be 25 minutes around, which is nice because if you think about it, in between pairing and readjusting, it's basically 2 hours after you've built your deck.
Yep.
You get your pre-release box. I'm sure there'll be like a half hour to build your deck, something like that. You might not even need that much time, because again, it's 6 packs. The aspect six system makes it pretty easy to sort of tweak and adjust as needed. So you might need less than half an hour, but you probably give it a half hour to, people who are new to the game and asking questions and understanding the rules for the first time, something like that. And then you're basically playing for 2 hours. Like it's a super accessible time commitment. It allows you to potentially go to another one if you if you've got them spaced out correctly. But I think that's a pretty acceptable um, format for the pre-releases. I think that's going to be something that they really have success with because you're not asking new players to come sit down for 5 hours and learn a new game. That's like 2.5, 3 hours out the door. You got some cards to take with you. Like that seems great to me.
Yeah, agreed. Um, and means the event will move,
Mhm.
because you're gonna have time, like you said, building your deck and opening your pack. So building that time into it, yeah, you're gonna want to keep the rounds short just so that everyone's out of there at a reasonable time.
The interesting thing about that round structure is the round structure is the same amount of time that you're going to find in the store showdowns. And they talked about the store showdowns a little bit. We're going to get to some of the prizing in a second, but this is sort of what they dubbed as the most competitive step in the casual format, right? And with that, obviously you're expecting more of a tournament environment. So, best of one in a store showdown, not best of three as sort of the overall OP structure we've come to find out has been designed. Are you pro best of one? Are you con best of one? Like, where do you land on that side of things?
I think it's fine for store showdowns because, again, if they're really trying to drive the casual narrative,
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of tracks. Best of ones fit the mold when it comes to that. Um, I don't know, and I don't think I don't think we know generally as a community yet if sideboards will be allowed
Mm-hmm.
in store showdowns if they're a best of one. So I'm curious about that for sure. because I think maybe there's, that can help kind of um, bring to the forefront the skill gap a little bit, which in a more competitive event should matter.
Hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, I don't have an issue with it. I think if we end up seeing that format in the larger events, then I might have something more to say. But I think for a store showdown, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think I think like the planetaries and all the competitive OP events will probably be best of three if I had to guess. And they did say also as part of Store Showdowns that they did have judge promos. They showed off the participation promos for set one of Store Showdowns, and they were the cool alt art takedowns. They have a judge variant of that, which again has the cold foiling, which looked awesome, and we got to see that up close on the
Mhm.
stream. But I'm not as keen to judge in the Store Showdowns as I am in the pre-releases, because although the takedown promos are sick, they are nothing compared to the Mace Windu promos. Now these are awesome. Now they announced that in as part of Store Showdowns, you would be getting if you finished at a certain place, you'd be getting an alternate art OP version of Mace Windu for the set one. There's top eight finishers, top four finishers, finalist, and champion. So if you're a finalist, you've got three of
Place
these. You've got a playlist. You've got a play set. And then obviously if
place
you're a
that.
champion, you've got the fourth one that says champion on it. But these look awesome, Corwin. Like seeing this was like, whoa, I'm all into this.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, again, the stamping is just that's a really cool touch, to be able to reward those who do well. And yeah, I mean, Mace. Who doesn't love Mace, right? So this is going to be a really sought after promo, I think, and a reason why people will hopefully play, multiples of these store showdowns. I know that I would certainly like to, and yeah, it's just the way that the treatment looks, along with the stamping and the accessibility of it, going all the way down to top eight, I think is a really big win.
I wanna just look at these for a second and think of one, how cool they are, but also like people are gonna want these. Like people are gonna
Mhm.
want these a lot. So are you worried at all that that is going to cut into the casual sort of side of things? Because I know that's been discussed a little bit this week, after the Mace promos were revealed. Like, these are going to be sought after. Like, people are going to be really trying hard to get their hands on these. Like, how does that line up with sort of the casual environment that the Unlimited folks are trying to go with here?
I mean, I think it does line up because I think that you're you're basically at the boundary between casual and competitive, the
Mm-hmm.
boundary between, your weekly play and your really hardcore OP structure. And so I think there should be good incentive to win an event like this, especially if you've got 20, 30 players coming out for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a slog to get through, that much competition. So I do think that the rewards should be worth it. And again, extending down to top eight, theoretically, if you don't win one of these, but if you place in three of them, there you go. There's your play set. Granted, you don't get the special stamping, but you still get three of these cards that all look the same outside of the stamp. So there's different ways to collect, but yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. I don't have an issue with it driving more competition to the event.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that because when I spoke with Josh Massey, who is the organized play program coordinator, I think that's his title. Josh, if you're watching this and I got your title wrong, I'm sorry. There's a lot of words in it, so just feel free to correct me at whatever point. It's fine. Um, but when I was talking to him at Gen Con, I asked him a similar question about because at the time, they had sort of announced that there wouldn't be any tournament points given for store showdowns. That those would only be reserved for some of the competitive OP events. And I asked him, I said, hey, why not? Like this is an event that has competition involved. there's prizing involved. Why not allow people to incur tournament points here? And I think that was sort of the line that Fantasy Flight Games OP is trying to draw here with the difference between competitive and casual. Sure, you're going to be rewarded for placing well in these Store Showdowns. You're also going to be rewarded essentially just for showing up. So either way, you're getting something. What you're not getting is tournament points. And that is sort of going to theoretically keep it in an environment where people are not hardcore grinding to try to make it to the Galactic Championship just by showing up at their store, right? And I think that's the bar that's being set between these two very different styles of play, is that tournament points are going to be the big reward, the big light at the end of the tunnel. And yeah, the promos are really cool, but when it comes to getting a top 4 or a finalist stamped Mace Windu, or moving one step closer to being invited to the Galactic Championship, I think one outweighs the other. So that, I believe, is how they're sort of balancing this. And I think, looking back, I didn't know that I was that sold, but I think now that I'm sort of seeing how they're building things up, I think I'm a lot more sold on that idea of making it so that competitive events are the ones where, they're designed for tournaments, with tournaments in mind, and rewarding tournament goers with more opportunities to go to more tournaments, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you raise. Just the Galactic Championship tournament points are obviously something that your competitive players are going to be chasing like crazy. After the first year, of course, because everyone gets to go, which is a nice touch. Again, shout out to FFG for setting it up that way. But I think that's, it's very valid, and certainly played into the calculus, I would say, of having these really nice promos kind of be your substitute for earning points towards the biggest event of the year. So, well said, I think there, Kevin, and not doesn't change the fact that I feel like these Mace Windu promos are definitely a home run.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to want them. People are going to want to get their hands on the coolest stuff, and they're going to want to get a playset of those. So, the trick is going to be getting a playset. The trick is going to be getting a playset of top 8s, and then getting a playset of top 4s, and then getting a playset of finalists, and then getting a playset of champions.
That sounds like a mad chase that I want no part of. I'll be happy with 3 of any of them.
Well, just win 3 Store Showdowns, and you get all of them. It's great, perfect. Knock it out of the park.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, easy money, no big deal.
Easier said than done for some of us there, Kevin.
Yeah, not me, that's for sure. I'll be lucky if I get a top 8. I don't think I maybe got one top 8 in all 3 years of Destiny. So we'll see where we get. But
it's a different animal. It's a renewed Kevin with a renewed spirit.
There you go. Yeah, I'll just be playing Boba Fett at every tournament I go to. But either way, exciting time for Star Wars Unlimited. Exciting that we're less than a month away, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming this month to bridge that gap. I mean, they're doing next weekend. They're doing a community creator event in Minnesota where content creators, I was going to say like us, but clearly not like us, are going to Minnesota to get their hands on the game, right? They're going to be able to, crack some packs, talk to designers, do some draft, I think do some sealed, reveal some new cards. Anything that hasn't been revealed is up for grabs when they open the IRL packs. And that's really exciting. It's really cool that Fantasy Flight is doing that for the game. It's going to bring a lot of great exposure. It's going to generate so much content for all these people that we're all just going to sort of get to consume and live vicariously through. So I think that's really cool, and definitely something to look forward to. I'm going to be parked in front of my computer watching that next Saturday, and getting to see sort of what's left to reveal in the set, and some high level, hopefully, gameplay. So I think that's really cool, and I think it's another huge step in the commitment of what they're showing for Star Wars Unlimited that just is nothing but encouraging.
Yeah, I think that was the point I was going to raise as well, which is that this is FFG kind of showing that they really are going to have a community centered approach to this game
Hmm.
and focus in a lot on what the community is seeking and promoting the game through the community and the different creators. And I just think the engagement on that level, even with the streams and the information that we're getting on a almost daily basis,
Hmm.
it's just night and day from what we're used to from before, Kevin. So I applaud them for it. I think it's been a really really strong approach, and um, I'm at a point where I'm just like, yeah, I need cards in my hands now. Like this is ridiculous. It's just let's get there. Let's get to March 1st and make this happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then also of note, multiplayer rules coming on Valentine's Day, which is something that a lot of people are really excited about.
Yes.
So if if the Twin Sons format is going to be revealed, so we might have to brush up on actually liking each other and working together well, because it's gonna where there might be some places where we can get in some multiplayer 2-on-2s and represent the roll on gaming brand. So we better get our stuff together here.
I would love nothing more.
So a lot of exciting stuff, all culminating in pre-releases on March 1st. If you haven't signed up for a pre-release, I would highly recommend bugging your local stores to try to get involved. I've certainly been harassing a lot of my locals, and I'm excited to be going to the ones I'm going to. But that is it for this week. That's going to do it. We're wrapping up just shy of an hour this time, so we'll give you back a couple minutes of your time. For those of you who made it this far, thank you again so much for listening and for dedicating a portion of your day, or spread out over the course of several days, to listen to us ramble about a game that we love. Again, we're very grateful for all the support. We love talking about the game, and we love sharing our thoughts with all of you. So if you like what we continue to do, go ahead, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. That really does help us out, and it shows that you're interested in what we have to say. Just like Corwin's dog is very interested in what we have to say, which is exciting.
He's into it.
Hey, listen, we love dogs around here. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for continuing to support us. We really appreciate it. Go support all the other content creators that are doing what they do, because we're all just one big happy community that is really excited for Star Wars Unlimited. So that's it for my brother Corwin. I'm Kevin, signing off. Have a great day.